All right, guys, we've been covering a lot of election news on this channel, and today is no exception. We're going to be talking about Donald Trump's administration that's coming next year and a recent border czar pick that he's made. We've already covered his stance on free speech and censorship and what he plans for those issues moving forward. We've also covered that he chose Susie Wiles, somebody who was working on his campaign to be his chief of staff. Now, she will be the first woman to ever assume that position, and that's coming from our misogynist president. Very interesting how these things happen. But today we're going to be talking about an issue that's been on a lot of our minds. It was one of my top issues when heading to the polls to vote in this election cycle: immigration. Now, we all know that Kamala Harris was the supposed border czar. She was the one who was supposed to have a handle on our southern border, and we all know how that went. Unprecedented numbers of illegal immigrants coming into our country. They were bringing fentanyl and drugs with them. They were trafficking human beings. Many of them were associated with cartels and gangs. And of course, mixed in with these immigrants coming into our country are good people, hopefully, who are looking for opportunities and looking to contribute to this country. But when you're not going through a legal port of entry, it kind of obscures our view, doesn't it? Well, Donald Trump promised he was going to get a handle on immigration, and he's now chosen a new border czar to follow in Kamala's footsteps, and hopefully nowhere near close to Kamala's footsteps. Now, we're going to meet Tom Homan by watching some of his most viral moments. Now, I don't know much about this man. I know that he has a history as a police officer. He's also worked in our immigration system for 30 plus years. So this guy's got a background on these issues. He's experienced them firsthand, which is something that Kamala Harris never experienced. You'll remember in an interview when asked about her going to the border and the fact that she hasn't been to the border, she said, "I've also never been to Europe. I'm not sure what your point is." That was me paraphrasing, but you can hear how just ridiculous that response would be. So Mr. Homan has been there. He's experienced this. He seemingly knows what we need to do, and he's defended his stance on this in the past. So let's watch this clip and meet our border czar.
Mr. Homan, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo.
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Mm-hmm.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their...
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
Okay, I know that's right. He's saying I'm all for legal asylum, but it's got to be legal. And these people just coming through our southern border at any place they want to, that's not legal. And we need to do something about that. And of course, the separation of children from their family was a really big issue during Trump's first term. So much so that Trump ended up halting the measures that was making that happen, having these children separated from their supposed family, which in some cases we knew that to be true. In others, we actually knew that people were pretending to be parents, uncles, or any sort of relative to these children in order to appear in a more sympathetic light, if you will. So there's a reason for these policies. I think these policies just got so much bad press, and it was really casting a shadow on his administration, so he ended up halting them. But Mr. Homan makes a very clear case as to why these children are separated. And when AOC tries to say, well, they're legal asylum seekers, he corrects her and he stands his ground. He says, no, if you want to do that, do it through legal means. And of course, AOC doesn't agree with that. And we know through the Biden administration, what they were doing was just allowing illegal immigrants to come in through our southern border in any which way they wanted to. And once they were here, they were granted a temporary protective status, many of them at least. J.D. Vance spoke about this in his vice presidential debate, the CBP app, which he tried to go in depth into, but they ended up having to cut off his mic as he was trying to explain this and actually fact check the moderators on the issue of immigration. I'm glad to see this is the type of energy that we're getting from our new border czar. I will, of course, wait to see how much follow through takes place. But interestingly enough, I think the left is going to be really mad at this man. But he worked during the Obama administration. You guys all love him. You know, he's the one black man that you come and parade around every election cycle to let people know how they should vote because he's so charismatic and down to earth and he knows how to really talk to people. Well, Mr. Tom Homan was working for him. And you know what? During the Obama administration, he was up there as far as deportations and numbers. That's something that a lot of people forget when talking about President Obama. But I digress. Let's watch another video of Mr. Tom Homan. This is from 60 Minutes.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
We have seen...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. It's a very serious issue, but it is just very interesting how common sense this guy is, and he is not gonna let it slide. He's just going to be straight up with you. This is what needs to be done in a lot of cases, not all, but a lot of them, and I think it's important that we remind ourselves of that. We cannot just let anybody, their mother, brother, and uncle into this country. In fact, we are one of the most liberal countries when it comes to immigration and illegal immigration at that, looking at our track record over the past 4 years. And it's gonna create a lot of problems for our country. Whether you like to hear it or not, sometimes we have to have uncomfortable conversations about just allowing anybody through our southern border. These are people who are sometimes criminals. They're associated with gangs. They've committed a crime in coming into this country, and many of them go on to commit further crimes upon being in this country. They also take the lives of American citizens. Again, not all of them. We must cross our T's and dot our I's so as to not be called racist xenophobes when talking about this issue. But I'm going to remind people that there are lives lost because of these issues. And some will respond and say, well, U.S. citizens murder other U.S. citizens and take their lives. Sure, but these crimes are 100% preventable if you don't let people through your southern border. And this port of entry issue is an issue that needs to be solved, and expeditiously so. And it's interesting that the Biden administration figured that out right around election time. They allowed millions of people to come in through our southern border. And in that final home stretch leading up to you heading to the polls on election day, they stated that this was a massive problem that they were fixing. Questionable. But of course, the news of this border czar is getting out, and there have been some left-leaning responses to it. We have to circle around and visit The View, where they decided to discuss Tom Homan and their view on him. And it goes about as you'd expect.
Look, Donald Trump won the electoral vote. He won. He's going to win the House. He won the Senate. For all effects and purposes, he's got the Supreme Court. They've given him immunity. This is what the country voted for. This is, you know, a lot of people thought that when he talked about mass deportations, he wasn't being serious. I don't know how many times he had to say it for people to realize he was being serious. Well, if you thought he wasn't being serious, the appointment of Tom Homan today as border czar, and he will be in charge of a mass deportation program, the largest the country has ever seen, they say. And now Stephen Miller, as deputy chief of staff, should let you know that he was absolutely serious. And when you talk about mass deportations, people think, oh, it's just going to be the criminals. There's not enough criminals, aliens in the federal prison system for it to be mass deportations. What it means is grandmothers. What it means is brothers and aunts. Yep. What it means is abuelos y abuelas. It means dreamers. It means your family members. It means your colleagues. It means your friends. It means people who are part of the society. And look, America, you know, those of you who voted for Trump, this is what you wanted. This is what you voted for. You screwed around and you're about to find out.
I mean, I'd imagine in a lot of ways they hope they do find out. We voted for Donald Trump because we thought he was serious and we thought there was going to be follow through on his promises. And I don't know where that's not linking in your brain, that's why he is now going to be the 47th president of the United States. Now, she says there's not enough criminals. Because there's not enough criminals, should we just allow them to be in this country? Should we not do anything about the terror that they're bringing into the United States of America, the pain that they're inflicting on U.S. citizens? Should we not remember the names of Mimi Rodriguez, Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungaray, all women who were murdered by illegal immigrants? Should we not remember them? Should we not do anything about that issue? Again, 100% preventable crimes. Should we not do anything about the 5-year-old in Long Island that was recently raped by an illegal immigrant? No? What about the young boy in Ohio who died in a car accident because a Haitian migrant was driving when they should not have been? And we've just been willy-nilly allowing these people to come into our country and do whatever it is they want. Not only that, we are funding them being in this country. If you're an illegal immigrant to New York City, you can get 7 months of rent paid for by the US government, which means your tax dollars. Your tax dollars are going to people who decided they respect this country so much that they entered on an illegal basis, instead of going through our legal processes. And we can say that the system needs changing, that we need to allow for more legal immigration. But we need to decide that as a country before we just allow millions of people in through our southern border. And we pay for them to be planed, trained, bussed, wherever it is they want, and to inflict whatever it is that they want on American citizens. Do you guys agree with that? I don't agree with that. She says there's not enough criminals. I'm sorry, I have to point this out. If you've entered the country on an illegal basis, you've committed a crime. Now, I hope that we are open-hearted, at least to some degree, and if somebody has a squeaky clean record and they're really contributing and they're giving them all, maybe we will consider allowing them to seek asylum in this country. But if you don't have a squeaky clean record, if we don't know who you are, if we don't know what you've been doing, or better yet, if we know what you've been doing and you're committing more crimes in this country, or you're not contributing to our system and you're in fact just taking and taking and taking from our system and we're paying for it, I'm sorry, you gotta go. You gotta go. We bussed and planed and trained you in. We can do the same to remove you. As I said, we're one of the most liberal countries when it comes to immigration and illegal immigration at that. You do not see other countries just allowing people in at any given moment and at any given time and for any given reason. And where you do see countries doing that, you see failure and issues on the other end. Cultural clashes, crimes, citizens lost because of what they've done. And make no mistake, this is a mistake. The current lack of enforcement of our immigration policy is 100% a mistake. And I've already mentioned the names of Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungaray, Mimi Rodriguez, which I hope we all remember, at least until we fix this situation and stop more names from being added to the list. But what about the Venezuelan migrants who were literally coming into this country and taking over apartment buildings here in the U.S., lived in by U.S. citizens? And people try to write this off and say, well, it's not that big of a problem. In fact, J.D. Vance had this moment on ABC where the host tried to tell him this is not really that big of an issue. Let's watch a few moments.
Limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs.
Do you need to hear more? Do you need to hear more? And there are so many other examples. We can look at the organized crime that's now taking place in this country, where they were going around stealing people's cell phones, robbing people, breaking into their houses and committing robberies against them. If you look up some of the videos of these Venezuelan gangs that have taken over apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado, the videos are harrowing. I mean, these people walking up with fully loaded guns to these people's apartments, their doors, and saying that they're now taking over the building in which these American citizens live. That should be enough for you. But if it's not, how much more do you need? How much more do you need to hear? How much more of this do you need to pay for? In what way does it need to affect you and impact you for you to understand that this is a problem? Because what I've already listed for you should be enough. You should exercise enough respect for your country that the people coming into this country and with hopes of becoming your fellow citizens, you would hope that they also respect your country. But we're not even asking for that at this point. Just wild. I mean, on top of the crime and the leeching off the system, there's going to be a major problem with a lack of assimilation. And people have recognized this, voters recognized it, and that's why they voted for Donald Trump. And that's why he's going to be sitting in office next year. And that's why mass deportations are going to be taking place. And y'all better face that reality and understand why it's happening and understand your fellow Americans, or continue on the track you're on, which is not a good one. And guys, those are my thoughts. Drop your thoughts on this new border czar, Tom Homan, down below. Let me know how you feel about him. If you have a more in-depth history of this guy, feel free to let me know in the comments. This is the first really introduction I'm getting to him, and I hope he has follow through on some of the energy that I'm receiving from these clips and some of the energy that I'm receiving from looking through his record and his past, specifically within the Obama administration. So let me know your thoughts down below. As always, if you disagree with anything I said in this video, duke it out in the comments down below, but do so respectfully. We encourage healthy debate on this channel. And if you like this video, like, subscribe. Click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video for you guys, which is every day. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.